So we're moving on to Vietnam. I will just say RC's um, just AFK for the time being. He's been AFK for a little while now. Just let you know, he's not ignoring you all. He's just got some other bits to crack on with. But obviously, we've still got Ed. We've still got Nighty, and obviously I'm probably as knowledgeable. I mean, RC would probably say a little bit more knowledgeable than him. So I can just fill in for him quite easily. Um,
But now we come to Ed's speciality.
Ed's speciality. That's actually a picture of Ed in the bottom left hand corner. Um,
Yep. Yep.
he's armed and
It's
ready to
grandpa.
go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
To be fair, I'm more like the top right corner. That's my type of Vietnamese experience.
with the jugs. So what's going on in these
Yep.
in these balloons then?
That's laughing gas.
Oh, just laughing. No, no. For a second, I thought it was. I thought the balloons were like. I don't know why in my head. I don't know. I feel stupid now pointing this out. I thought the balloons were clear and they had smoke in. I think I'm just stupid. Um, yeah, I think I am actually.
No, it's
That's
nitrous
their drug of
oxide or
choice.
something. It's very popular in clubs.
Yeah, I've done laughing gas before. It's an interesting experience. Uh, is it just a tourist thing, or are the locals into it?
No, the locals are very into it. Like especially in nightclubs. The photo here is in like kind of a beer bar, which is not as common to see locals doing it. They don't do usually outside. Uh, Maybe afraid of police, but yeah, it's very popular for some
Oh,
reason.
fascinating. Right, I'm gonna say Ed, take us away on this one. Obviously, you're in Vietnam.
Sure.
I think this is your
Yeah.
one to go for.
So the coverage in Vietnam is kind of similar to Laos. They cover just 10 cities here, so they cover double the cities, but still we don't have rural coverage. You might get the outskirts of some city that might look rural, but it's just the 10 listed cities, and all of them are kind of large. There's no small towns covered, so it's not as easy to differentiate the cities as Lao, like based on mountains or something, but it's still possible. It takes a little bit of practice for you to remember distant cities, but once you do it, like you're probably doing really well in Vietnam. As you can notice, most of the cities are around Hanoi, the ones that were covered. Uh, there's um, there is Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City in the south, together with Mỹ Tho and Hue in the center. So yeah, like if you don't know where you are, you can probably guess around Hanoi and have a better chance. Most of the coverage is there. Vietnam is easy to discern between countries because their language is so unique. So every word is just a syllable. So they're very short. They're basically like Chinese, but in Latin characters. So the words are very short, as like a Chinese character would be, and they're full of those diacritics. So
Yeah, I
some
think the
people call accents.
diacritics are there to distinguish the tones, and it's the only Indo-Chinese language with Latin script.
Yes, half of the diacritics are tones, and the other half is just sounds because just like they have like three letters for A, for example. Just like I don't know, Swedish have like another A. They have like multiple A's, multiple O's, and over that we have six tones overall. So yeah, it's full of diacritics, right? Like you can have like more than one in a word
Mm.
because you have like a something to differentiate a letter plus a tone. So like little dashes on the D, little tildes on the O's, on the A's. You can have multiples of them. So like the language is extremely unique. I think because the coverage is done inside cities, and there's usually some languages for you to get into it. So that's
Right.
a pretty easy country. I like very few people have trouble that I noticed like on Chatguessr, like recognizing Vietnam.
Yeah. Is the language easy to learn, or is that for the reasons you just described a
Mm,
bit
it's
difficult?
extremely hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not a good language learner, but I'm trying to learn from the last year, and it's very hard. it's easier to read than Chinese because it's Latin. So
Mm.
like I can read some stuff on like menus and food and supermarket stuff, but the tones are very hard to do. I think most Westerners have problem with tones. So it's like you read, you can even tell the tone apart if you know the diacritics. But once you ask for coconuts, people give you chopsticks, and yeah, I was like, it's yeah, it's like you just changing the tone. You probably have like maybe 12 different uh, things that they can give you instead of like the pineapple juice you
Oh
want.
God.
So
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
it's it's
Yeah,
yeah.
and sound wise, it to me personally, when I hear Vietnamese, it kind of sounds like Cantonese to me when I don't see the script at all. So weird. I
Damn.
think it's the most the closest language to Cantonese or Chinese in general
Huh.
Yeah,
of all
they used to be
Indo-Chinese.
written in like symbols like Chinese. It's a very recent from the 19th century. Like a French guy decided to use like the Latin alphabet to simplify it. But yeah, it was Romanized, right? Like yeah. Um, but yeah, you can tell the cities apart mostly two ways. Because you're usually like in city centers, there's usually multiple commerces, stores, restaurants, and they like more than half of them will have the full address mentioned in the street number, the street name, the neighborhood, and the city. Usually there's like the TP in front of the city, as you can see here in the slide. So that's the main way you can tell a city apart.
Mm.
Um, there's some issues that may appear. The first issue is that the three former capitals of the country, so Hanoi, Hue, and Saigon, they're kind of snobby. So like most of the commerces, they don't mention the city.
Yeah.
So you need other methods to tell those apart. And sometimes, for example, the first thing the list is Mito. Like sometimes they will write a TPMT instead of the full name. TP is time for, it's for city, and they may simplify it. So like if you see, for example, TP YB, you know you are in Yen Bai. You need a little bit of training to recognize this abbreviations. And finally, I think uh, here we have the uniqueness of some street signs. Hanoi and Hue, they both have those unique symbols on the street signs, and they are the same cities that sometimes they don't mention the city name on the street signs
Mm.
on the billboards. So as you can see, Hanoi has a little like a little white symbol with a little castle or something, and Hue has like kind of like the imperial citadel in yellow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you don't see a city name, go for the street signs, and if you don't see anything, it's probably Saigon. So that's how I usually do. Um,
Interesting. I'll be honest. I thought on the Hanoi sign it was a little frog in a circle. That's I don't know why
yeah,
I thought that. And that's something obviously I've noticed going back to one of the to Cambodia, I believe it was in terms of the uh, that road sign. We're sort of saying that kind of that shaped kind of curved, almost like a gravestone type sign with a kilometer marker on there. It's like the French
yeah,
style.
I added those just to represent here, but because usually we don't leave cities in the current coverage,
Mm,
they're not as easy to find in Geoguessr. Like if you are maybe in Hanoi or Saigon and you are like in a main avenue, and the avenue coincides to be like the start of a highway, you may see one of those. But they are not as easy to find in Geoguessr as they are in real life because it's so just urban coverage.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think yeah, my biggest issue in Vietnam is getting the cities mixed up. I always seem to get them back to
Yeah.
front. Always guessing the wrong one, and that you just drop so many points when you do that. So I mean that is yeah seems to be the key with all the urban coverage as you were talking about. We've
Yeah,
got oh
just
sorry.
some question from the chat. Yeah, Saigon is Ho Chi Minh City. Yeah, um, it's still called Saigon in real life because kind of like Ho Chi Minh City is not just what Saigon was. Some people think the city name was changed to Ho Chi Minh, and it's not very true. Like kind of like a merge of multiple cities. But yeah, I was using Saigon, but yeah, on addresses you see mostly Ho Chi Minh. And
Interesting.
on the meta corner here, it took me a while, but I did a study here on the helmet colors, and some of them are very helpful. Like Yen Bai has a white helmet, which is kind of unique, and Hanoi has like uh, white helmet with red stripes. Some of them are unique. Like there's a very shiny black helmet that's only found in Hanoi. But yeah, it's kind of gets kind of extreme for you to remember all those helmet colors.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a bit questionable studying people's helmets for quite as long as well, Ed. So just give you a warning there. Um, so I should move on to some locations. I mean, that's. I mean, I think you've done you've done Vietnam justice there with all that information. Very, very, very good. Let's back that up with some of the locations then. So our first one here.
Also, sorry, one thing to add on top of that, only 2 cities have a Gen 4 camera.
Ah, okay.
Those are Yen Bai and how do you say Song Kao? Song Chao?
Song Cole.
Song
Song
Kao.
Ko, yeah,
Okay.
those two. Yen Bai near Hanoi and Song Ko.
They're the Gen 4. Rest Gen
That's in the
3.
middle south of Hue.
Okay. Thank you for that bit there, Nighty. So let's take a look at this first location. Um, Plenty of signs here to look at. So I think this is a good example
Yeah.
of some of uh, the characters and the styles and the tones you're talking about.
Typical
Yes.
Vietnamese experience.
Yeah, that's quintessential Vietnam right here, especially with discovered being just urban. There's a lot to understand. Um, Usually go towards the smaller letters on the bottom. Usually the large ones, they are mentioning the dishes and what the story is about. And in the bottom, you can see the cities. So we have 2 examples, right? Like this one, the white and blue, we can see the full name of the city, Tay Ninh. But the green one, it says TPTN only. So it's one of the cases that they're not using the full name. You usually have a mix of both.
Now, as a cultural neek, I'm firstly noticing pho is being advertised. I'm assuming that's the same pho I'm thinking about. Um,
Yeah, that's the chicken one. Yeah, chicken pho.
yeah, good, bloody good stuff. I've never had the legit. I've only had the Western recreations, I guess. But it's even that is pretty tasty. So that's something I recognise just from my own experience. Um, but yeah, I mean, anything else that you want to point out about this particular location? Anything?
And that location on the other direction of the street, or there, the other side of the street, you can see the red and white poles from the standard street signs.
Yeah.
Exactly. That are typical Vietnamese. You can't find that in any other Southeast Asian country.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. Actually, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's usually kind of like an overload of information in Vietnam. It's
Yeah.
very rare that
I
you
mean,
like because there's so many things happening on streets. So even if you get into like a suburb, there's probably like a little fog cart or street food happening with some letters.
you can
Usually there's plenty
immediately
of information.
recognize Vietnam, in my opinion, because of the language and those poles. If no language is around, which I doubt, but the hard thing then in Vietnam is just to find out where in the city you are, in which city you are, and then those signs on top of the stores come play. with the TP and then the
Yeah,
city on the bottom.
I
Yeah.
will not get into like a street structure here. I wrote something
Not
on
at all.
Reddit, going a little bit deeper in. But yeah, it's kind of a country you can sometimes 5K it no moving just by checking the street names because they're everywhere.
Oh, really?
And
That's
there's some
interesting.
tricks as well. Yeah, and there's some tricks as well with this the numbers, right? So here we are like around 350 something. Yeah, 354.
Yeah, yeah. 354.
Usually this yeah. So the small alleys leaving the streets, they don't have proper names. They are assigned a number, so you can kind of like pinpoint based on alleys. So you would try to
Ah,
find the alley number 360 and then the alley number 340, uh, and pinpoint it.
interesting. Well, I mean, that's some more advanced stuff there, but I think, just guessing the,
Yeah, and also Vietnam has on Google Maps every neighborhood covered, not covered, but which neighborhood is where. It's on Google Maps, and Vietnam has that on those signs, on those shop signs as well. So you can easily spot the neighborhood in the city if you just look for long
So,
enough, and
yeah,
then
the
just look
only the
in that
only
neighborhood.
yeah, the only very hard neighborhood place to pinpoint, I would say, it's Ho Chi Minh, because Google Ho Chi Minh has numbers for the districts and numbers for the wards as well, as we will see in the next location or very soon. And for it is the only city that Google doesn't do a good job showing you the neighborhood names. But otherwise, it's not that hard if you get the neighborhood name.
okay, cool. Um, so got another location to check out. This is regarding unique street signs in Hanoi. So
Yeah.
talk me through.
Okay, so here we start without moving. We start already with the white with a red stripe helmet, which, if you know the meta, is unique to Hanoi. But let's say let's say you don't want to remember all the helmet colors. You can look at the street signs, and there's uh, the little symbol on the top left corner of the street sign
Oh, is that yeah?
to your
There's
left.
that there's that symbol. Is that the one we're
Yep.
looking at? Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the frog.
Yeah. A frog meta. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually really
Yeah.
useful. Yeah, damn.
Yeah, and it's especially useful because it happens in the city that sometimes doesn't mention the name on the storefronts. So
Mm,
there's so many stores here. You can probably find Hanoi or HN written somewhere,
yeah,
but sometimes they just don't write it. It happens in the three former capitals. Yeah, the
damn.
capital and the two former capitals. Yeah.
I really want to go to Funny Pet House. I d-
I
what
think
I
it's a
love.
massage parlor.
Yeah, it's shop and spa. That is brilliant. Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, I guess 100%. The those signs are critical. I guess then if you can see them, there are so many shops and all sorts going on. But that's a really interesting point. Um,
Yeah, and the same is valid for Hue. In central Vietnam, they also have the unique symbol. It's yellow that time.
yeah,
So yeah, you can use both to your favor.
brilliant. Okay, cool. Got some more locations to take a look at. So having a look in Saigon here. Um, So yeah, another location, kind of got a similar feel to it with all the shops and tons to read and to look at. Um, what's going on with this location? What do you wanna tell us about it?
Okay, so the thing about Saigon is that it's the largest city in Vietnam. Let's call it Ho Chi Minh, right? Like include the satellite cities. It's the largest city in the country, and Google covered only two districts. So there's like the old town center, which we are right here. So it's like the colonial capital of Indochina, and there is like the posh place where the foreigners live, and another one. So because the coverage is so limited in the city, you usually have like kind of like wider roads. The sidewalks are cleaner. As you can see, even the storefronts are kind of like a little bit, uh, let's say, posher. It's like
Yeah, it feels
it's
more
not as
upmarket, doesn't it?
chaotic. Yeah,
For sure, yeah. And
yeah, it is. Yeah,
you,
it's
yeah, I
there's a
mean,
Rolex
his
thing
Rolex
and the
shop, yeah,
embassy and the yeah. So it's all the former embassies of South Vietnam used to be. So there's an opera, there's hotels. So even though they usually sometimes they don't put the full address. Maybe this shop in the corner, the 59 or something, maybe they mention Saigon. You can usually tell because it's upscale. Oh yeah, TPHCM. So this one mentions the city. Um,
that's comes up a decent amount. Yeah, you're right. It's a
I'm
good
gonna
place to
be
go.
shortly AFK.
Not to worry. See you in a bit, 90. Um, yeah, is there anything else you wanted to mention about this location? Ed?
not really, not really. This is the average look of Saigon, not in real life, but in Geoguessr, because the
Yeah,
coverage is limited, of course. Uh, There's plenty of unofficial coverage. This is the airy capital of the world. There's, I think,
yeah,
four different areas. But if you see Google on the bottom corner, you're probably like in District One. My
interesting.
final comment is like the most of the neighborhoods and districts and um, wards, they don't have names; they have numbers.
Mm,
So you see stuff, for example, as you can see here, we are in Quan Mot, right? We are in District One,
yeah,
um, and they don't appear very well on the map. So like if you zoom out, you start to see the Phuong, which are the wards, which are also you see many Phuongs, right? Many
Wrong seven
Phuong
here.
one,
Yeah,
two, three. But those they repeat among the districts, the Quans. So if you see an address and mentions Phuong or P7,
yeah,
and if you see, for example, that P7 that's appearing on the north, doesn't mean you're the right one. That the one that's appearing is the Phuong 7 on the Quan 3. So it gets very confusing. And Google doesn't do a good job here to help us figure out the districts, unfortunately. You
okay.
need to go maybe, yeah, it's a hard work to pinpoint in Saigon usually.
Well, I mean, for the more hardcore out there of you, I'm sure you will you'll figure some system out. But obviously, we're just looking at slightly more of the basics. But yeah, definitely something to make it more difficult. And there's Huang 4 there and 12. Yeah, definitely you can see those on the map. It is.
Yeah, Granis is on the chat, so he probably already memorized all the 12 districts of Saigon.
Yeah, I think him and Geoguessr went and wrote them all up on
Yeah,
a trip.
yeah.
Um, cool. We got the last location here, which is so this is in reference to restaurant names often include city names, which can be deceiving, which is not what we want to hear.
Yeah,
But
so
what's this about?
yeah, so please zoom in on this green sign, this green shop.
Yeah,
There's a yellow text. So the name of this shop is Oak Saigon, right?
yeah,
So they are selling Saigonese type of snails. But
right,
on the
okay,
bottom, you can see there's mentions TP Hue, time for Hue. So we are not in Saigon. And there's so many Vietnamese dishes that mention city names. So there's
right,
like even pho. Sometimes you see pho Hue, pho Hanoi. So if you see like a city name printed very large, you usually try to ignore it. You're probably
yeah.
not in the city name on the top of the restaurant.
It's not a good.
Um,
It's not a good cheat. Don't try and go. Ah, there we
Try
go.
to look for the small text on the bottom.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's exactly the kind of thing I would do. Oh look, they've conveniently labelled this restaurant in the location it's in. Um, yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite, right? Because if you go to Saigon, you just order snails. You don't need to
Yeah,
mention,
you don't
I
need to
want to
say.
be prepared. Yeah, Saigonese snails in Saigon are called the snails, and the same goes for like Hanoi noodles. If you're in Hanoi and you want a bun cha, you don't ask like, oh, make a bun cha from Hanoi. But other cities are probably writing on the side, right? Like Hanoi, bun cha from Hanoi. So it can be deceiving.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, don't be asking for French onion soup in Paris. Um, well, that is Vietnam. Any closing thoughts, Ed? I think you've done a fantastic job. Um,
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's an easy country to let's say know the country, but it can be tricky sometimes to pinpoint it.
yeah, 100%. Wow, fascinating. My brain is already melting at this stage of how much information is in this one. I told you guys it was a jam-packed one. Honestly, there's so much to go over here, which is the boys have put a lot of effort in, which is amazing. If you do feel like you're already starting to forget stuff, don't forget. All this will be uploaded to YouTube. The countries will be uploaded as well, so you'll be able to pinpoint those and watch the smaller episodes as well. So don't worry too much if you can't recall everything. We'll get the episode up on YouTube as soon as possible. If you want to spend some more time kind of reviewing some of the information as well. So we're going to move on to